having a little meet and greet with the new staff. We're having a little breakfast buffet. I find these guys show up earlier, they stay later, and as you can see, they really are good at keeping the weeds down around the house. So this is the new staff. Connie Wilson's moved on. He's moved down to Mississippi and is selling snow cones out of the back of his pickup truck. I don't think it's working out real well for him though. He's apparently has some issues. I think it's related to selling syrup poured over blocks of ice, and he can't understand why people keep coming back and saying it's all watery, but he'll have to work that out on his own. Carter Cash here, and welcome to this week's episode of Random Destinations. I believe this is episode 3, season 4. I know at the end of last week's episode I announced I was going to be closing this channel down. Well, all that's kind of been thrown into flux due to last week's video on Pigeon Forge. I have to say, I am just amazed at the response that video got. I picked up more views on that video than I think I have in the last year and a half. And I picked up more subscribers after watching that video than I picked up in the last 6 months. So, quite honestly, that was not anticipated at all. That was a spur-of-the-moment video, and I didn't think it was any better or any worse than anything else I put out. But apparently, a fairly large number of people failed to understand the title to that episode. And I'm not sure what part of it threw them for a loop, but I've got a lot of comments back. I call them one and dones because I only have to read the first 3 words and go, yeah, you're out of here. Blocked, blocked, blocked. But apparently they misunderstood the title of the worst place I've ever visited, Pigeon Forge, to somehow get the impression that that was going to be a kumbaya type of feel-good video, and they seem to take it personal. I don't understand that. I thought it was pretty clear cut. It was the worst fucking place we've ever been. Anyway, Random Destinations, as you've known it for the last 3 seasons, is in fact changing. You met the new groundskeeping staff, and I'm real pleased with them. They're only costing me about a little over $1.50 a week for whole corn, and they seem to do an excellent job. I have 2 new additions to my staff also, which you'll meet later on in this video. The first is a cameraman, because I'm not particularly good with the cameraman, and I have found a cameraman, and I've done some interviews with him, and he's going to work out fine. And I have a new face to Random Destinations, which you'll also meet her. She is going to be a lot nicer to look at than I am, because as you know, I don't feel like I do particularly well in front of the camera, and Edith May doesn't like it because she's afraid someone's going to recognize her from a poster in the post office, so she doesn't like to be on camera a lot. So you're going to meet them, but I think the short-term thing is Random Destination. I'm going to do a lot like a lot of major stars do, like I think Bob Dylan did this, Bruce Springsteen has done this. I'm going to put my entire video Random Destinations library up for sale. I expect it should bring somewhere in the neighborhood of $4.8 to $5.2 million. And for that, you get the YouTube channel, you get all my raw videos, all my camera equipment, all the accessories that I bought. Matter of fact, you get the studio here. You get everything, the food in the pantry, whatever's in the bathrooms and closets, clean laundry. We're not gonna mess with anything. You just, 5.2 million, 5.3 million, something like that. Cash, has to be in cash. Non-sequential, random $100 bills. We'll close at the bank. You might want to bring your attorney and accountant with you, because I'm sure the FBI will have some questions about where exactly you got the money to pay $5.3 million for a piece of junk like Random Destinations. But we'll worry about that. So anyway, that's what the deal is on that. I'll probably firm up these concepts a little better before the end of this video. But in the meantime, depending on how fast that one sells, now that it's a booming channel, surpassing anything it's done in the past, I expect it'll get snapped up pretty quick. If for no other reason than somebody like Elon Musk will buy it just to shut the fucker down. But anyway, in the meantime, we will continue to do occasional videos. Certainly not going to do weekly. Like I had mentioned before, I just don't enjoy traveling much anymore. Every time I meet people, I have to decide if I'm going to leave the gun in my pocket or pull them out and chase them away. That's never a good sign if you're going to travel. But luckily, this is not a business. I think a lot of people mistakenly believe that this is a business. And no, it isn't. It never has been. My goals originally, if you recall, was simply to learn how to do a YouTube video. And I've accomplished that goal, and I'm satisfied. And it's been 4 years, and quite frankly, I'm bored with doing this. But in the meantime, because I picked up so many new subscribers, and I know a lot of them are going back and looking at the old 76 or so videos I put out, I feel obligated to do a few more videos. It'll be whenever the weather's good and I feel like it. And I'm going to go over some of those options too, and let you, my viewing public, decide which trip you'd like to see Carter Cash and Edith May take next. So stay tuned and we'll pick this up inside. All right, take 3. All right, we're back inside the Random Destinations editing studio. And I want to talk a little bit about possible upcoming trips. Over the last couple of years, we have not traveled very often. We had 2 Viking cruises ready to go ahead and confirm. And both of them ended up getting canceled thanks to pretty much Russia. We were planning a trip from Amsterdam to Bergen and cruising up and down through Norway. And then the second one I was really excited about going to was Iceland, and that one's fallen by the wayside. So I don't see us doing any Viking cruises, or I don't actually see us doing any cruises in the foreseeable future. And I also had 2 road trips planned out, one for the spring and one for the fall. And they pretty much, the pandemic, while it hurt them, they were hurt just as much by the unhinged lunatic Trump and his Hitler Youth bunch that I just simply didn't want to travel to certain states. And I don't want to embarrass anybody and mention states like Texas and Florida and Arizona and Wisconsin and Iowa and West Virginia, even though West Virginia isn't because of politics. It's just a creepy place. And I've been there a number of times. I just don't like it. It's creepy. So anyway, those 2 trips got canceled. Now, I think for upcoming possibilities, I'm going to resurrect those 2 road trips, and we'll take a look at them, because I have devised ways to travel in spite of the redness of places in this country, including the state I live in. There are ways to deal around that, to where you don't have to be around those people if you don't want to, and I certainly do not want to be around them. So we can travel and stick to certain criteria I've developed. And matter of fact, the Pigeon Forge episode and Great Smokies was an afterthought. We had gone from here, we had to go to North Carolina to visit a relative, and I had to do my planning around places I won't go. And it's difficult coming from here to North Carolina and not going through super red states. But I learned that I can make it through them and avoid the worst of those states. And we decided to go to the Smoky Mountains on the way back from it. And Pigeon Forge, as I said in that episode, was supposed to be strictly a hotel overnight stop. It was never a destination for us. And if it hadn't been for the skunk, that wouldn't have got even filmed. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to resurrect 2 auto trips we had. And we'll look at both of them. And if anybody gives a shit, give me your feedback, because they both have advantages and drawbacks. And I'm going to do voiceovers on it and do a screenshot on it and talk more about each of them. But the first one is basically up from Missouri up to Lake Superior, over to Mackinac Island, down along the coast of Lake Michigan, and then back here. The biggest drawback to that particular trip, other than Iowa and Wisconsin, is I hate driving through Illinois. It's like driving through Kansas. It's just Kansas with a lot of traffic. It's just a lot of traffic, flat, corn, and I don't enjoy it. But that's one trip. The other one is going to be in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Tahoe Durango, what is it, Silverton, and then over and back. And the only drawback to that particular trip is Kansas. There's just no good way to get back from the Rocky Mountains without going through Kansas. I've been through Kansas too many times. And to be real honest, with the exception of Interstate 70, I'm not sure anybody lives in that state. So I thought about taking a back route back just to see if anybody does in fact live in Kansas. I know a lot of sunflower seeds live in Kansas, but anyway, so that's the two options. We're going to look at both of them. I'll talk a little bit more about them. And here we go. Option number one is the Great Lakes trip. This trip will start in Columbia, Missouri, arguably the most liberal city in Missouri and home to my college alma mater, the University of Missouri. Next, we will travel up to Hannibal, Missouri, home of American author and riverboat pilot Mark Twain, and the site of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn's many adventures, and take a quick lunch break and tour of that town. Then we're off to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where we'll spend the night and visit the Czech Village and the New Bohemia district. Next, we're off to Madison, Wisconsin, where we'll visit the University of Wisconsin campus and the Lake Mendota area, as well as State Street and downtown shopping district. Then we're off to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where we will visit Lambeau Field and the Bay Beach area. Then on to Marquette, Michigan, where we'll check out the shores of Lake Superior and the Maritime Museum and historic downtown shopping area. From there, we're off to Michigan's Mackinac Island for a couple of days of R&R, take a break from the car, and we will spend some time taking horse-driven carriage tours of the historic island. After our couple of days stopover on Mackinac Island, we're off to Traverse City, Michigan. And to be real honest, I don't know why. I thought we were going somewhere else, so I'll have to look into that. But I do know our final stop will be in Holland, Michigan, where we will visit the Windmill Island Botanical Gardens and the Dutch Village. From there, we're off to the traffic and cornfields of Illinois. Okay, now let's take a look at option number two, the New Mexico and Colorado road trip. This trip is going to start just outside of Joplin, Missouri at the Riverbend Casino Resort in Wyandotte, Oklahoma. We did a video on this casino in Season 2, I believe it was episode 12, and it's a very nice place. No better way to start out a road trip than spend all your vacation money at a casino. Our first stop is going to be in Oklahoma City, where we will visit the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum and visit Bricktown. Then we're off to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we'll visit Old Town, the Pueblo Cultural Center, and take a ride up the Sandia Peak Tramway. Next, we're off to Santa Fe, where we will take a walking tour of Old Town, visit the Cathedral of St. Francis, and do some shopping and dining in the Santa Fe Plaza. The fifth stop on this trip will be in Taos, New Mexico, where we will visit the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge, Taos's Pueblo, and eat a lot of very good food. Next up is Durango, Colorado, where we will see the Mesa Verde National Park and ride the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. For the remaining portion of this trip, it's kind of up in the air at this point. The map currently shows me taking the scenic route from Silverton over to Colorado Springs, and that's a great way to go. The only bad side to that is I now have to deal with Kansas. The other option I'm considering is going back to Durango, cutting across to Trinidad on I-25, and then coming back down to Amarillo. So those are the options. Let me know what you think, and next episode I'm going to introduce you to the new staff. See you then.